All right, post what happened in Manchester, England a couple of nights ago, we're getting a smattering of these kind of headlines. People afraid to go abroad and travel. People afraid suddenly to go to concerts or public venue events. Parents very concerned about dropping their kids off pretty much anywhere. Those kids afraid to leave their parents or go anywhere. The best-selling author, Bishop T.D. Jakes, on what he makes of this global fear and angst that has gripped the world again post another terror attack. Bishop, very good to have you. Thanks, even under these circumstances.
Thank you, Neil. It's a pleasure.
How do you advise parents, everyone? All of a sudden, I had a good friend of mine who was rethinking a trip to London, as it would turn out, because of everything that's transpired. What do you tell them?
You know, a certain amount of fear is a healthy thing. It makes us more cautious. It makes us more suspect. When we see something, we say something, we're more aware, more alert. But if we have the kind of fear that causes us to be paralyzed in our activities, then the terrorists have won. And so we have to balance those two extremities and hold on to hope and refuse to succumb to the temptation to stay at home and hide. We will play right into our enemy's hands.
But, you know, Bishop, a lot of parents in particular, especially parents of kids, like those who go to Ariana Grande concerts, they don't want to take any chances. It's one thing they say to be cavalier. It's another thing to put their kids in harm's way.
I can totally understand that. I've raised 5 children. I get it. And I think every parent has to ask the kind of questions and scrutinize the sort of activities. And then we have to step up our ability to protect these types of large events and venues. I'm getting ready to do a large one myself. MegaFest is coming down on us in June.
Have you made any special precautions for that event?
You know, we have worked very, very diligently with the officials on all levels to make sure that our event is safe, and we are much more conscious today than we were, say, 5 or 10 years ago about terrorists, about bombs, about parking, about everything. Yeah. You simply have to be if you're going to do a major event today.
You know, Bishop, we're learning a lot more about the assailant here and his connections, that he might have had accomplices, that his brother and father were arrested in Libya today. But we knew a lot about him, but you get separate reports that some authorities were afraid to pursue, that maybe in Manchester, where there's a big Libyan refugee population, maybe they were skittish to do it. So much we don't know, so I don't want to attach any blame here, far be it. But is that a problem, that we are afraid to follow up on stuff because it is, after all, just chatter?
You know, Neil, this is the kind of problem like you and I would have never imagined when we were kids.
Right.
Because I think that sometimes when we stereotypically say this is a most likely terrorist without adequate information, we limit ourselves. When you look across the global board at terrorism, there's no stereotypical person. It's an ideology. Sometimes it's an American, sometimes it's an African, sometimes it's a Muslim. And so I think we have to be very, very cautious.
What did you think of the president calling those who do this sort of thing losers?
I would have liked to have heard a stronger term. It was a strange term to me to describe it, but I understood what he meant by what he said, and I understand the semantics are not really totally the issue, but it's not a term I would have used.
Now, obviously, there's going to be a very chilling move right now where everyone's going to get closely scrutinized. We're going to follow people. A lot of people worry about invasion of privacy. As a man of God yourself, I mean, can you go too far with this stuff?
Well, you know, privacy is important. I think it's very important to us as Americans. Not only a right that we ought to have and enjoy, I think that there is some psychological damage when we all feel like that we are being observed 24/7. We were not designed not to have some level of privacy and intimacy and life outside of the public eye. It can be quite brutal. On the other hand, we don't want to be terrorized every time we walk down the street, and I think we really have to balance those two extremities in a way that respects the American citizen, but really bores down on those persons who are suspected to be terrorism. I think that we can do a lot about suspected terrorism. What bothers me is that there are some people that you would never suspect. We're fighting an ideology. It's not a country. It's not a culture. It's an ideology.
T.D. Jakes, I want to thank you very, very much. Some words to think of, especially at a time like this. And everyone, stand back and just yell about taxes.